of the most misunderstood birds in the world is the vulture. Modern society considers a vulture as nothing but a disgusting creature. However, believe it or not, they were worshipped. The Native Americans called the vultures the war eagle, and many wore bonnets of nothing but vulture feathers. Today we're going to introduce you to the American Wildlife Refuge's Snoopy, the black vulture. This is Snoopy. Snoopy is what's called a black vulture. There, Snoopy's head, you see his entire head is black. A turkey vulture, the bare area will be usually a pink or a red. Very similar in face to the black vulture. However, look at the nose bridge. Much more designed for the smell. Has a larger opening. This is actually a juvenile. By the time he's a full adult, the skin areas will be a bright red as opposed to this little kind of palish look that they have now. And they have the ability to kind of stretch their feathers back. See how his head pokes out a little further now? And then they unstretch it. They actually get these feathers back to almost to the back of their head. It still has a hook on the end, but it's got a long area with no hook. And if you look at the top, you can see through. Come on, look up, but don't bite. You can actually see through the nostrils. They're a pass-through. That way it gets a little more scent. Vultures are known for having their head bare of all feathers. That's so they can eat what they eat without getting their feathers all encrusted. Now look at this vulture's feet. See, these toes look huge and deadly. But when you look at the back or the thumbs, there's not much to them. A vulture cannot grab like a raptor. Raptors can grab their prey and squeeze it and lift it. Vultures cannot. They use their long fingers and their claws to hold down food while they peck at it and pull at it. Now let's see if I can get him to spread his wings without flying off. You see how one wing is slightly offset to the other? That's why he's at the wildlife refuge. Spread it. There you go. Snoopy has about a 5-foot wingspan. At the very end, the feathers are white. The feathers at the end of his wings are white. So when a bird like this is flying, what you see is, it looks like a 2x4. Long wings with almost squared off looking ends because the white ends don't show. And you cannot see through the feathers because they're all black. You see birds like this soaring above the streets all the time hunting for food. You'll notice the skin on the legs is white. Actually, the skin on the leg is the same color as the skin on his face. It's also black. However, like all tanners, all people that make leather and make it to last, these birds use an acid on their own legs to toughen them up. They actually pee on their own legs and use the uric acid to make their legs stronger. Because of that, when wildlife releases birds like this, they cannot put a metal band on their legs because it will cause an infection. So it's a lot harder to track where vultures are and what they do once they're released. Contrary to popular belief, vultures do not prefer rotted and dead food. They do want food that is not moving, but they prefer brand new, just killed. The reason they usually get the other food is because they often hunt by smell. When they hunt by smell, the best way to find it is something that is very odoriferous. Black vultures are very aggressive animals. However, they do not kill their food. They only go for food already dead. That doesn't mean that they won't defend themselves if cornered by a person or an animal. This particular black vulture was on the ground at least 3 weeks before he came to the wildlife refuge. The break in his wing had fully healed, but it healed incorrectly. So that's why he cannot fly well enough to be on his own. But he survived 3 weeks running around on the ground eating carrion. And that's not uncommon for a vulture. Most dogs know better than to try to mess with them because vultures bite back. And most cats don't mess with them because vultures are bigger than them. If you look at his coat, you'll see it looks kind of dusty. I don't know if you can see any dust rising. A bird like this will often take dust baths. Basically, they'll bring up dust from the ground and cover their body with it. They use it to kind of choke off any moist areas that an organism can start to live in. It keeps the parasites down. They're very careful and very selective about the food they eat because there are certain parasites that are always around carrion, and they always try to avoid that from getting on themselves. The acids in the stomach of a bird like this are so strong that they can digest most plagues and most illnesses that can decimate a countryside. But the vultures can clean it out, and what comes out of them has no plague or no illness with it at all. Neck extended is about 5 inches long. Of course, the head itself is about 2 inches. These are juvenile black vultures. They're actually still nestlings. You see, everything looks like an adult except for the feathers and the size. Notice the shape of the face. Notice his eyes. He can actually move his eyes, unlike most raptors. Let's look at a wing. See that? So his feathers will probably be in well enough to fly in about 3 weeks. In the meantime, he has more of a peach-colored fuzz than the birds of prey we've looked at so far. As you can see, this one is definitely not made for people. He's made to go back into the wild. It's nice and violent, hates people, which is good. That's what we want. They're really hard to keep clean because they really like dirty stuff, and they'll chew up the food you give them, and they'll spit some of it back out and kind of wallow in it. So now, size comparison, half the size of an adult, maybe 3/4.